Welcome to our greatest American art form.
The mixtape.
Now, for all of you kids who don't know,
traditionally, a mixtape is a homemade compilation of media from multiple sources, recorded into a medium like a CD, a VHS, or cassette tape.
what we are presenting to you here is something we call mixtape therapy,
A collection of authentic conversations,
often wacky conversations,
inspired by what inspires us.
except instead of a cassette tape, we are bringing you a podcast
So just as you might share a mixtape, we share these conversations with you.
in the hopes that they spark a similar connection to the good old mixtape. Now,
Join us for a little
for some
mixtape
mixtape therapy. Hi.
Hi. Are you doing okay?
Yes, I'm doing great.
Great.
How are you, Scottie?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that it's phases and how you weather the storm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a lot like this movie you recommended.
Oh, did you like
so
it?
I
Sorry.
I really did. Right. My initial question is, what inspired you to bring this to the table?
Okay. Should we say welcome to mixtape therapy?
Well, I mean, we already got this intro that kind of goes and tells us what it is. So, I mean, you're already here. I guess we should say what the media is, or what Hannah brought today is a movie called Flow. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a cartoon, but I wouldn't say it's a cartoon because it is.
Film.
It's a animated film in the sense of a lot of it just kind of looks like watercolor, and it's really visually it's super interesting. But yeah. I would assume the reason Hannah didn't bring it for that factor. She brought it because it inspired her somewhere, emotionally inside. So, what inspired you to bring this?
Yeah. So, So to echo what Scottie already said, the movie is called Flow. It is. It won an award at Sundance for, I think, best new animated director. It won some other awards. So it is a fresh voice, fresh director on the scene. It is not like a Disney movie. There's not a ton of money behind this film.
There are no words.
There's no words. Oh my God. There's so many things that make it very cool. It is an animated film, but it is not the what I would compare it to is like a Miyazaki. I don't know if you're familiar with Studio Ghibli or Miyazaki. So it's like Spirited Away. Have you seen that?
No.
It's that. You haven't? Okay. Well, anyway, it is this style of animation
on the list.
Yeah. We'll do Miyazaki some other time, but it's, this style of animation anyway that is very evocative. It's definitely not just for kids. Kids will enjoy it, but I think adults will also enjoy it, which you could say of a lot of Disney movies too. But, kind of touching on some pretty deep emotional themes. So this movie, Flow, is about, has no talking, and it features animals are the main character, but unlike in a typical Disney movie, the animals actually act like animals. They don't talk. They don't wear outfits. They don't act like people. They very much act like animals. They make real animal sounds. Yeah.
I want to interject. They do act like animals, but they do act like people. That's
for sure. Just in subtler.
But in subtle but very obvious ways if you're paying attention. I just want to drop that. I just want to drop that in there because that was my biggest takeaway from the movie is the subtleties of humans and what we do and how they inserted that without using words, but still keeping the animals as animals,
Totally. Yeah, no, that's a great point, right? That's another reason I loved it is, it's whimsical. It's definitely animals wouldn't actually, I don't think, do the things the animals in this film do. They wouldn't be able to, for instance, they steer a boat, they sail a boat. I don't think animals can sail a boat that I know of. You never know. But it's all very believable because, again, it's not that cartoony feeling of it's basically a human character, but they made it a mouse or whatever. It's the cat acts like a cat, the bird acts like a bird, all these sorts of things. So the story is the cat is sort of the main character. And the cat is like a cat, independent, doesn't like other animals, doesn't need other animals, does its own thing. But pretty soon into the movie, a massive flood, like the most massive flood ever, kind of, comes into the landscape.
Like 100-year flood.
Yeah.
Like a
Noah's
1,000-year
Ark.
flood that's going to change the landscape of the world.
Yeah, like this is huge flood, like Noah's Ark-esque flood. And so the cat ends up, out of necessity, teaming up with a group of other animals to reach safety and survive, basically. It would be the cliff notes of what the movie's about. And I chose this to talk about because I just saw this movie pretty recently. Spoiler, I'm like a huge cat person. Like I am the most like dorky cat person. I have a black cat that I'm obsessed with named Merlin. And this movie, the main character is this little black cat that just looks like my cat. So I watched it because I'm like, this looks really cool. It looks different. And then I had a huge emotional response to this film. Like I was sobbing at the end and tearing up at various points throughout the movie. And so I'm like, okay, anything that is new. It's also a new movie, like it was made in 2024 or released in 2024. Anything that, is new to me that feels like it has a huge impact. I just feel like what better time than, or what better thing to bring to mixtape therapy than this? And then so you and I, Scottie, have now both seen this very recently for the first time.
Yes.
Which I just thought it would make it cool that this is new to both of us.
What do you think it tapped into so emotionally for you to have you such an emotional connection?
Yeah, I mean, I think for those of us who are animal people, which I think a lot of people are animal people, right? Like I'm guessing that animal videos are like some of the most watched videos. Like we love animals, right? We love animals doing weird things. We love animals doing cute things. We love the story of like the cat that adopted the duckling, like all these like beautiful interspecies kinds of things because, why we love it. There's so many different ways to describe it. I think animals, for me anyway, and for a lot of people, kind of just distill the most powerful, potent truths of life into a less complex form because they're not talking, they're not humans, but we absolutely see in animals things like joy and love and anger and aggressiveness. Like animals are not that different from us. It's just like a different lens through which to look at human emotion because animals do have it, right?
I feel like your thoughts. Animals are incredibly authentic.
Oh yeah, that's it.
There's no bullshit to it. It's like I'm hungry, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm happy. Like and like there's no like, hey, are you upset? No, I'm not upset. There's none of that. You know what I mean? And so the authenticity that animals bring, I think, is what connects us to because we look at that animal and go, he's just happy being a cat. You know what I mean? This is kind of like our wild geese conversation, right? Like he just happy doing what he does. Like there's no social pressure, no nothing,
Oh, that is actually, you nailed it. I think that's like one of the most powerful things about animals and why so many people that I see in therapy who have had tremendous trauma, which tends to come from other people. Let's be honest. Most problems are human relationship problems, as we know from our dude. What's his name? Adler.
Yeah.
So for people who've had tremendous interpersonal trauma, an animal is, in contrast, so safe because that animal is trustworthy. Even if that animal isn't going to like show up for them and provide them with food and like words of affirmation, that animal is going to be there and be authentic and not lie, not betray, an animal just is what it is. So you can really rely on animals to be what they are and not deceive you. You could argue that cats can sometimes use deception. Cats are weird. But certainly I think a great example is just like, you never doubt about how a dog feels about you. It's like, hey, I'm so excited to see, like, a dog loves you. It's excited to see you. It doesn't want to talk to you, but it's all very there on the surface. There's no reason to mistrust. So I think that's very grounding and feels actually a lot safer to a lot of people.
So do you think, so the original question was, like, why do you think this hit you so emotionally? And do you think it's kind of this relationship that you're talking about?
A little bit of that. I mean, I think this film touched on just some very basic concepts that are very emotional to me personally, like how hard it is to form connections with others, how hard it is to rely on others, how vulnerable it is to be generous to others and like be interdependent. Like all of that is really challenging for someone like a cat. Or a cat, the cat people. Like I would count myself as sort of a cat person of like, just not really sure who I can trust. When in doubt, I'm going to be independent and I don't need anyone and fuck y'all. And like, right? That's like the safe zone is to just pretend that I don't like and don't need other people. But that at the end of the day, we do need each other, right? And that's kind of like the thesis of the film. I think because it's animals, it just, again, there's like this distillation, like it just makes it more pure in a way, or more simple, so that those themes of like loneliness and community and grief and compassion just come forward really strongly and purely, if that makes sense. I also do just feel like the most emotional part of it for me is like the altruism of like doing things for others. And yeah, I think a lot of things about this movie were a reach. Like, I don't know that animals would do exactly what they did in the film. I don't think so. But we do see that in the animal kingdom. Like, we've all seen those videos of like animals adopting other species, or animals forming friendships with other species, or even just friendships with members of the same species. Like,
or animals excluding someone from their group, like outcasting an animal.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's so true. Yeah. Let's put it in the negative as well. Like animals, right? Like social connections are absolutely part of the animal kingdom as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It was just a, when you see these like universal truths, but put in a different lens, it can really, really hit you. And I feel like this was one of those examples. And you're just like, I wasn't prepared to be so emotionally hit by like a animated. Well, I shouldn't say that. I often get very moved by animated movies, but.
Well, so I have two things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use a scene in the movie. And so, okay, there's all these dogs running together and the cat's like doing his own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll call these dogs, like, because the movie does such a great job of kind of putting these small human elements to this thing that you can feel this, right? So this pack of dogs, they're bad guys. They're not a good group of guys. And then there's this one dog, and he's like I got to hang out with the dogs because I'm a dog, but like I'm a good dog. You know what I mean?
He's like a dog.
And so the good dog gets separated from the bad dogs, right? And he's with the cat now with all the other new friends they've made in the boat, like all these animals that are kind of working together, right? Well, as the flood happens, the group of random animals, including the dog and the cat, right? They float past where now these 4 dogs that were like the bad dogs have gotten stranded.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And you can tell inside the boat, they're having an argument of whether they should go get these dogs, because some people are in the boat are like, hey, they're not like good people. They've already proven this. And the dog's like, but they're dogs. This is my people. I got to go get them. Right? And these are all like such human things, right? So guess what happens? They go and pick up the dogs, and then the dogs act like a bunch of assholes on the boat.
I love that
right?
they did that.
Right. And this is all like And so all that, like you take that scenario, and there's many scenarios like that in the movie, right? I turned to my girlfriend because we watched it as a family, right?
Oh, did.
Yeah. And I turned to my girlfriend, I go, this is The Walking Dead. This is when all humanity breaks down, right? What are you going to do? What kind of person are you going to be? How are you going to show up? How authentic are you going to be to, to yourself and to the people you've made relationships with? And how are you going to handle it when there's outside forces of that push on you? So as an example, zombies, bad guys, coming to take your camp or whatever. And those struggles are happening all throughout the movie in all the different ways. And there were so many times I was like, I've seen this in The Walking Dead. I've seen this human interaction or human have to make a hard decision or to contemplate or on The Walking Dead. And now we're doing it in this cartoon. And so I think what really spoke to me the most is that, like, you're trying to do this life. You're trying to be the best person you need to be. And sometimes the decision you have to make is between a shitty one and a shittier one.
Yes.
Okay. And that's not always comfortable and cool, but you just have to, you have to try to make the best decisions that you can all the time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's not going to be perfect every time. That's not how the way this is going to work every time. But the more you put it forward, the more it works, right? It might not work perfectly, but the more it works. And in this movie, even though they let the dogs on, everything turns out okay in the end for them because they stuck together. You know what I mean? And by the way, those dogs bail at the last minute. And
the dogs bail on helping out, which I love. This is such a good moment. And just to clarify for people who haven't seen this movie, which I think you did, Scottie, but I just want to get the bearings right, which is that this crew of animals that has had a really hard time, but finally reaches symbiosis. They've stopped fighting with each other for the most part, and they've started really working as a team. And the cat, who used to be arguably the most selfish one, starts fishing. It goes and catches fish for the other animals to eat, right? And right after that, this now motley crew that is kind of bonded sees, dogs that if they don't get on this boat, presumably they're going to die, right? They're going to drown. And the dogs are barking. You can tell from afar that they're going to be so annoying. All these dogs suck. And the dogs were at the beginning of the movie trying to kill the cat. But it's the cat who's no, we have to get them, right? We can't abandon them. And I just love, I think the easy Disney decision in that movie would be for the dogs are going to redeem themselves or they've been saved. So now they're going to be nice. And I love that the director chose to be no, the dogs still suck. And they made the decision to save them anyway. And sometimes you do the thing that is totally aligned with your values and it doesn't turn out ideally, far from it. And I think that's just a really realistic and nuanced thing to keep in mind is because it's not do good, be kind to others and everything's going to go well. It's no, oftentimes aligning with your values and doing the kind or generous or compassionate thing does screw you over. And it's kind of to what Scottie said, but is it worth being screwed over to have made a decision that feels the better decision out of two shitty options?
It reminds me about buying shit on eBay.
How so?
You go and you buy something on eBay, right? And then you have a bad transaction or something, you know what I mean? Someone doesn't pay for something, or maybe you pay for something, you never get it, or whatever else it is, right? But that doesn't mean that all of eBay is bad and you should never use it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And part of everything you do is error or negative, right? Something will go wrong or something it's in a negative way, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it again. So to the point of what Hannah's making, just because you get screwed over one time for making the best decision that you think is possible, especially in that moment, it makes you feel the best, doesn't mean it was a bad decision when it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to work out. That doesn't make it a bad
Yes.
decision. What makes it a good decision is that you were good with it, not that it didn't turn out the way you wanted to. Because if you're making decisions so that things don't turn out bad, one, you don't have control of that, so it's not going to matter. And then two, now you made a bad decision and you didn't get what you want.
Yes.
Right. So like, it's like you have to kind of decide like the importance of that, you know, really quickly.
Yes.
So me and Aaron were having a debate about this. So the water fills up so much that creepy monsters from the deep of our oceans get to the surface.
Yeah.
Right? Because in the beginning, like in the cartoon, there's this big whale thing, and you think it's a whale, but it's not a whale. It's like some weird monster or whatever.
Dinosaur.
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, okay, now, like, is this in real life or is this not? And like, are we imagining? And so then as the movie goes on, you really start to realize, or at least I did, that like, oh, because this is like a 1,000-year flood, the things in the depths of our ocean are coming up to the surface. All right.
Cool.
So all through this movie, this like super whale, whatever it is, like this mythical creature is always there to help the cat, like in these key moments, right?
Yeah.
And I guess I shouldn't say the end of the movie, but we'll say that the whale and the cat have an interaction at the end of the movie as well, right? That kind of sums the whole thing up.
That made Hannah cry like a baby. Yeah.
And that's why I didn't want to say too much. And so in my mind, the whale or this whale monster kind of represented the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And how at the lowest points that a lot of times the universe or God or whatever you believe in will kind of like pick you up, right? And then once you kind of get it, you don't need it anymore per se. You know, the universe taught you what it's supposed to taught you, and it's with you in other ways maybe and stuff like that. And so I was just curious, like, do you think that the monster whale had any significance, or am I just like draw these crazy conclusions?
No, the monster whale had huge thing. I feel like we have to just spoil it, Scotty, in honor of like.
Okay, well, so we should say, spoiler alert, we're fixing to tell you what happens at the end of the show. So if you want to watch it, you should probably turn it off for like the next like 3 minutes or something.
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, Scotty. Great.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Yeah. So this mythical, which by the way, I didn't think of it exactly in those terms, Scotty, but yes, it is something like that. There's something spiritual and otherworldly about this whale thing, which is both terrifying and benevolent because it keeps rescuing the cat, or like coming in right when you think that right when the cat's about to like frickin' drown, this force comes up and propels the cat out of the water. But at the end, this as the flood recedes and the water goes back down again, the whale is left there dying, right? Because the water's gone. And the cat goes over and basically like, you know, sits with the whale as it's dying and like lays its head on its chest. And it's like, obviously it's like super emotional, made me cry a ton.
Well, it's your cat. So, I mean, like, of course, like, you know.
That's another part, right? I think I have like a special cheat code to this movie because I have like such a soft spot for black cats. But it's also just that beautiful moment of like grief and loss and compassion.
Yes, very much so.
No, but you're not wrong. The cat part is like definitely a shortcut to my heart. And kind of like the cat realizing that it has gratitude and that it owes a lot of what it's been through to this creature. So by the fact of it dying, I am curious how that ties into your spiritual hypothesis. My mom also, I made my mom watch this. And she's like, I didn't get the end. It was too abrupt and I didn't like it. And I was like, I sobbed. I don't know that I have like logical sense, but I know that there was an emotional truth to the ending for me, or it felt satisfying to me as an ending. But so Scotty, what did you make of this like, if the whale is meant to represent the universe or God, what do you make of it dying?
You know, let me amend it a little bit because you made me kind of think about it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think more of the whale. Oh, wow. I mean, it's just hit me. The whale was the example of how you should be always as a person,
Aw.
right? And those people come into your life and you lose them. So maybe it's your grandparents, maybe it's a friend, maybe, but they're there for a short period of time and then they're gone for whatever reason. Maybe they move or maybe they pass away or whatever. But, you know, when I really think about it, the whale was always, I mean, the whale could have just ate that whole boat, like, you know what I mean? The whale was always doing the right thing. He was always making the right decisions. And maybe that's what made the cat make the good decisions with the rest of the people in the boat because of what the whale had done for him. So even as a person, when you think you're not having an impact on other human beings, how you treat them really does have an impact on them. You know what I mean? And that reverberates out to their own actions a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, I always come back to this thing is like, if I treat people nicely, they're got to be 100% more likely to treat somebody else nicely. Now,
Yes, for sure.
it might be 100% given and 10% received. And it might be take more, but like if I'm giving 100% of like how I want to be treated and nice, then maybe they go out and they at least claim some of that and do that at some point, or they get used to feeling like that way and they're like, oh man, I'd like to make somebody else feel that way. You know what I mean? But like that's ultimately what we're here for, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think there's an important part about that purely benevolent force being impermanent, because literally all of life is impermanent. So, I think the Disney interpretation would have that whale be like this deathless, unending creature that like goes on and is fine. But like the fact that this beautiful and generous spirit does in fact, leave the earth feels more true. I think it was so emotional because it just felt like it was tapping on something true. And, kind of, Scottie, to your point, it's like, yeah, like these beautiful people or things enter our world and it's never permanent. They come and they go. And hopefully they impact us in such a way to make us better people. But yeah, not a lot of this stuff is permanent. And I think the movie had a lot of themes of loss. And you can definitely talk about some environmental overtones of like, climate change and things getting flooding and like things being destroyed and everything changing. But yeah, I don't know. It's also funny, right? Because the whale was the one creature that wasn't like in danger because it's a whale. So the flood was fine for the whale.
Yeah.
But then when this thing that was objectively terrible for like all the other animals goes away, the whale comes at the price of that. I don't know. Like, again, I think because I can't like totally describe what it means, I think that's kind of a sign that it's something special.
Yeah. I think that, the movie has no words.
Yeah.
but it had a lot of feeling and it was just a lot of observation. But it was the observation of like how we are as people. That was the magic of the movie, is that they got the animals to be animals that did socially things that people do. You know what I mean? So it spoke to, again, you could put, The Walking Dead in this place, right? And you just change all the characters, but it's the same social dilemmas, right? This is kind of moving a little bit. When you're doing relationship like therapy and counseling, how much of how someone is treated or impacted by their external world impact their intimate relationship? And I feel like you're going to say a lot, but if you say a lot, can you say more? Explain more.
Well, it's actually really person dependent, right? It's not like you're treated really well, so you're going to treat everyone well, or you're treated badly, so you're going to treat other people badly. I think you could probably make some general claims in that direction, or things probably generally fall that way. But I mean, I think one of the eternal mysteries for me is why some people have incredibly abusive childhoods or terrible life circumstances and turn out kind of like you would expect, like selfish, mistrusting, narcissistic, violent, vindictive, all the things of like self-protection central, and like are not going to are not going to be super generous and compassionate, and are going to be very guarded and might even be aggressive and violent and vindictive and all the things. And then some people from the same, if not worse, circumstances end up hyper empathetic and super compassionate and very giving, maybe even a little too giving of themselves, maybe a little bit self-sacrificing in a way that's not entirely healthy, but just how you can get such different social outcomes from bad circumstances.
Do you think one of those is acceptance and the other one, for lack of a better word, is like defiance, in the sense of like, in one scenario, the person takes how they were impacted socially and goes, this is how the world is. And then the other one takes that scenario and goes, this is not how I want to be. This is not how, right?
Yes. I think that's yes. I think what I will say, beyond just how they were treated or what their life circumstances were, I think how you see the world is a really great indication of how you show up in it. So when I talk to people, right, who fall into that super compassionate, empathetic category, who have had maybe like super terrible life experiences, they will say something like, yeah, life is really hard. It's not easy. Life can be brutal, but I think at the end of the day, like, most people are good and everyone's doing the best that they can with what they're given. And people have so much power to transcend their circumstances. Like, I think that's the best indication, is how do people see the world? If you see the world as fundamentally good, or at least a mix of bad and good, you're going to show up very differently from someone who says, everyone's just out for themselves. This is a dog-eat-dog world. Everyone is operating in their own self-interest. The world is out to get me. People hate me in this world. You're so much more likely to then go through the world doing damage, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like how you form your worldview, I think, is a much better indication of how you behave towards your partner or anyone, really.
Could it be like this? Okay. we have the cat, right?
Yeah.
And the cat, this is a cat with no monster whale. Okay. And how the cat has been treated and all this to this point. And so it comes from this one perspective, right? But what if, like, these other group that we're talking about, these other cats, right? They had a monster whale in their life. Like, the rest of their life sucked, but there was one monster whale. And that monster whale always treated with compassion and love and showed them, like, hey, even though the rest of the world is telling you this one thing, like, I'm telling you this, and they believe the monster whale over the rest of the world. And that's what compelled them, right?
Yeah.
So to sum that up, it's like, it's very important for each of us to be a monster whale for somebody else, right? Because you never know, you never know the impact that you're going to. And so now let's tie it back to my original question I asked you, kind of about the relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And this goes to a book that I've read. I think I've told Hannah I wanted to read it, called The Science of Trust, right?
Mm-hmm. I'll get there.
Even when you're in a relationship and you don't feel like you're getting what you need and you feel like you're getting a lot of negative, I mean, you really have two choices. You can keep pumping the positive, or you can lean into the negative, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not telling you to pump the positive until, like, you're just totally destroyed and heartbroken, you can't take anymore. But I do think there's a level of, in a relationship, when someone is in cat mode of, like, they're thinking about themselves, negative cat mode, you being their monster whale can have a profound impact that on your relationship with your significant other, even when they don't want your friendship, even when they don't think they need you, even when they want to be negative. setting positive intentions and expectations and showing that like you can always like, like this monster will, like he was always there when the cat needed him, that you can depend on me, allows a person to go, oh, the world's telling me one thing, but this person I really care about and love is telling me a totally different thing. And I'm going to trust them over what the rest of the world's telling me.
Yes.
Right. And like all this is in positive context, not manipulative or, like, not narcissistic. We're talking about like in a person with true, good, authentic intentions of being good to you. And they're showing you that the world can be different and can be safe. And so, again, that's why it's so important to try to be all these things on an individual basis with people that you come across and meet, the ones that mean a lot to you and the ones that you don't even know, right? Because you never know. This episode is going to be, you never know when you could be a monster whale for somebody.
Yes, that will be the title.
Yeah.
It's so true though, right? I mean, that's what I have to remind myself of as a therapist, particularly earlier in my practice when I was, and I still have, maybe a few clients like this, but circumstances that are just so rough, right? That I can't fix their life. I mean, never should a therapist ever fancy themselves able to fixing their life. That's not what they're there for. But like, for instance, like what I have to offer seems so like a drop in the bucket compared to the fact that they don't make enough money, that they can't access the medical care they need. They have parents who are like emotionally unavailable and mean, right? All these things that are so much bigger than, it's just like they're in a shitty situation and it's not like an easy fix, right? And to just, this is especially true of young people or minors like kids, because kids especially they do not have power over their circumstances the way an adult does, and especially the way like a privileged adult does, right? We're all working with different options available to us. And a kid who's in like a crappy situation is pretty powerless. And that used to really overwhelm me. I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I even giving therapy to them? Like, it's so, it almost feels like insulting to try to get them to like fix their mindset when they're going back to this like really dangerous emotional environment. And I realized like, I'm not there to get them to like change their circumstances in that moment. I'm there to be that one touchstone. Like the more I shrink my impact, I think the more profound my impact can be, which is to say like, no, I'm not here to fix their entire life and to get their parents to be better people. Like I can't do any of that. All I can do is be one person who deeply cares about them and really, really wants to hear what they have to say. That's all. And yet I think something that is as simple but authentic as that is the only thing that is going to have a chance of really impacting someone. Like my only goal with certain clients is to be like, I'm just going to be there and care about them. That's my role. I'm going to be one person that they know they can thinks that they are awesome. And yeah,
there's what you want to do for others, and there's what they need.
Yes. Great.
And so, I mean, when you care about something, you should want to do so much, but are you in tune to what they need? Right. And I think let's bring this all the way back around to the beginning of the conversation where Hannah was talking about her love for her cat, and we're talking about the authenticity of animals. They give you usually what you need in those moments. Like, when you're sad, I'm sure everyone's had their cat or dog come up to them, cuddle with them when they're sad, right? Or you come home excited and they're excited or whatever, right? They're authentic about their emotions and what you need. And ultimately they're just there. I mean, like, you're not like, God damn it, I can't get this dinner cooked on time. Hey, could you cut those carrots? It's not like that, right? Yeah. They're just there going like knocking the carrots off the counter or going like, hey, I'm just here for you, or I'm going to hang out in the kitchen with you or whatever, And so a lot of times, we are trying to like overfunction and do what we think people need.
Chop the
Maybe
carrots.
it's just showing up and being authentic. You know, I mean, not to steal my own shit, but I mean, like,
It
to
is.
just show up and just be there and be you and be a good listener and be present for them is all they need, because
Oh, yes.
you know.
Can I just say, right,
Yes.
this is such a good point, right? And I'm sure Scottie and I both fall prey to this, right? Is trying to help people by giving advice or wanting to help them fix their life. Or telling them that they got to get their workout and their meditation, and this is what helped me, and here are all the tools that I have, right? And that's not a bad thing, right? But I can tell you, when I was struggling in my 20s, oh my God, with so many things, career, relation, like every way that one can struggle, I feel like that's what you do in your 20s. You don't know how to do relationships, friendships are hard, job is hard, nothing makes sense, adulting is like a new thing. And I was always going around like asking people how to adult or how to get a job or how to do a relationship better. I was always like, how? And the thing that I know for a fact had one of the most profound impacts on me was just talking to my sister, who said, and it only worked because it was 100% genuine. If it's not genuine, it doesn't work. But whenever I would just call my sister and complain and talk about all these things and how I was so nervous and like, what if I fail and all this stuff, she would just say some iteration of, I don't worry about you. Like, I know you've got this. I just have utter faith in you. I just think that you're a really fucking cool person. And I know it's all going to be okay for you. And she really believed that. And that was the most impactful thing that I could have asked for during that time, is someone who believed in me, really, and wasn't trying to fix me, wasn't trying to do things for me, wasn't trying to tell me what I was doing wrong, just saying like, I see you and I have faith in you.
Mm.
And again, way more helpful than like any other over-functioning kind of intervention you could ask for. And so I try to keep that in mind for when I'm trying to help people, that it's very rarely the advice, it's mostly just the being there and the seeing and the caring.
I just want to drop this in before we go.
Yeah.
Like the like you said, the being there and seeing them, like when someone is suffering in any way, like I want it to end for them. I'm sure they want it to end, but it ends on their own terms, kind of like, you know, emotional suffering, I should say. Right. Mm-hmm. And like, as you were talking, I was thinking about the times where like I'm walking with my daughter and like she just grabs my hand. She doesn't really ask me. She just grabs my hand. And I would assume in that moment, that's all she needs.
Yes.
Right. And, you know, we don't do that probably a lot as adults, but you can do that in a way of showing up, just being present and having the other person know that they are seen. And have that same kind of holding hand support. And even though you want to solve their problems and you want it to be finished, they have to come to their own terms. And maybe they just need somebody to wait with them. You know what I mean? Maybe they just need somebody to be there while they're getting there. Like you're on the journey with them. You want it to be done today. I'm sure they want it to be done today, but maybe it won't be done for months. And they just want somebody to go, you're doing a great job. Keep doing what you're doing. I see you working hard. They just need someone to be their, lack of a better word, cheerleader, or not even cheerleader. Just knowing that there's somebody else there that believes in me.
Yes. So. Yes. Which, so good. And I can't help myself. I have to add one more thing, which maybe I'm just prolonging it. But I think when you don't try to offer advice and you do just hold your daughter's hand or give your girlfriend a hug or just sit there, right? You are telegraphing something very different than if they're like, I have this problem, I'm fucked up. And you're like, okay, what are we going to do about it? Even though that is so kind and comes from such a genuine place, there is a little bit of an implicit message that you're giving them of like, I agree, you're not okay. I agree, you're not okay. And I also think that like you need to fix something, as opposed to the other message, which is like, I know you're good and I'm just here for you. Like, I'm not going to buy into the idea that you're not good. does that make sense? I'm saying
Yeah.
it poorly, but like without intending to, I think when we try to offer advice, we are like confirming a person's belief that they are not okay or good enough.
Yeah, strong. Well, hey, Hannah, thank you so much for bringing this. This was amazing.
Did your daughter like it or was it too slow? It's pretty slow.
It's pretty slow, but we had a lot of conversations about like, hey, you just need to sit down and watch this. Not that I'm not asking you, like, it's like, we're going to watch this as a family and you need to be okay with this not being like high paced and like no words. And like, I want her to sit, I don't want to say I want her to be bored, but there's a little of
for a kid to be bored.
I want her to be bored, but bored with us and interacting, but she did good and she likes it and she likes cats too. So
I know she likes cats. I knew that about your daughter. Because I remember there's a video of her and you're like, she's like, the kitty cat.
Oh, yeah.
On the toilet.
If you have something that's mixtape theory for you, make sure you let us know. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Hannah, so much.
Thanks, Scottie. Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.